The best music biopics of all time. Films that capture not just the sound of an artist's life, but the emotion, struggle and identity behind the music itself. What about them? I've based my ranking of biopics about musicians on a mix of general consensus and a few of my own personal favorites. From the soulful story of a blind pioneer redefining American music to the flashy, larger-than-life rise of the king of rock and roll. And from the jealousy-fueled rivalry between composers in 18th century Vienna to the haunting survival story of a pianist in war-torn Europe. Let's get into it! Please help your favorite average movie guy get to 1,000 subscribers by subscribing right now. Better Man 2024. We start with one of the most unusual and ambitious music biopics probably of all time. Directed by Michael Gracie and centered on the life of Robbie Williams, the film follows his rise from his early days in Take That to becoming one of the biggest solo pop stars in the world. It charts the familiar beats of fame, the meteoric success, the pressure, the self-destruction and the search for identity, but filters them through a highly stylized and often surreal lens. Instead of portraying Williams as a literal human figure, the film depicts him as a CGI monkey, a symbolic representation of how he views himself. Insecure, performative and constantly under scrutiny. What makes Better Man stand out within the genre is that bold conceptual choice. Where most music biopics are judged on the central performance, this isn't really the case here. The monkey isn't just a gimmick, it visualizes the disconnect between public persona and private self. Combined with energetic musical sequences and Gracie's signature flair, reminiscent of his work on The Greatest Showman, the film turns familiar biopic territory into something far more introspective and experimental. Critical reception has been notably intrigued, with many praising its visual effects, earning numerous awards for it and even an Academy Award nomination. While some viewers find its surreal elements divisive, others see it as a refreshing evolution of the music biopic formula, not playing it safe. It holds a 7.5 on IMDb and a 3.8 on Letterboxd. Commercially, however, it was a major disappointment, grossing only $22 million worldwide on a big budget. It is seen as one of the biggest box office bombs of all time. Despite that, Better Man is quickly building a reputation as one of the most daring music biopics ever made, among the people that have seen it. It's the kind of biopic that challenges the genre itself, proving that telling a true story doesn't always mean telling it in a literal way.
I was her, she was me.
Love and Mercy 2014. Now we get to one of the most unconventional and quietly powerful music biopics ever made, a film that trades the usual rise and fall formula for something far more intimate and psychological. Directed by Bill Pollard and starring John Cusack, Paul Dano, Elizabeth Banks and Paul Giamatti. The film tells the story of Brian Wilson, the creative force behind the Beach Boys, but instead of following a straightforward timeline, it splits his life into two parallel narratives. One focuses on the 1960s, where a young Wilson, played by Dano, pushes the boundaries of pop music while creating pet sounds. The other takes place in the 1980s, where an older Wilson, played by Cusack, struggles under the control of a manipulative therapist while trying to regain his independence. What makes Love and Mercy stand out within the genre is its structure and perspective. Rather than presenting a complete life story, it zeroes in on two defining periods, creative brilliance and personal collapse, and lets them echo against each other. Through immersive sound design and fragmented editing, you experience the way he hears and constructs songs, making creativity itself the centerpiece of the film. Critical reception was highly positive, with particular praise for its originality and the dual performances. Paul Dano's portrayal of Wilson's youthful genius and vulnerability was widely celebrated, receiving a Golden Globe and Critics' Choice nomination for Best Supporting Actor. While Cusack brought a quiet fragility to the older version of the character, the film holds a 7.4 on IMDb and a 3.9 on Letterboxd. Commercially, it was more modest, grossing over $28 million worldwide. Today, Love and Mercy is often regarded as one of the most artistically ambitious music biopics ever made, a film that doesn't just tell you who Brian Wilson is, but allows you to feel how his mind works.
Do you know who this man is? Brian Wilson.
Ray 2004. Now we move to one of the most defining and widely celebrated music biopics of the modern era, a film that doesn't just tell a life story but fully embodies the spirit of its subject. Directed by Taylor Hackford and starring Jamie Foxx. The film chronicles the life of Ray Charles, from his childhood in the segregated South and the trauma of losing his brother to his rise as a pioneering force in soul music. It follows his journey through fame, innovation and personal struggle, including his battles with addiction and complicated relationships. Along the way, we see how he reshaped genres, blending gospel, blues and jazz into something entirely new. What makes Ray stand out within the genre is its balance between tradition and immersion. On the surface, it follows a fairly classic rise and fall structure, but what elevates it is how deeply it pulls you into Ray Charles's world, especially through its music. The performances aren't just reenactments, they feel alive, driven by Fox's uncanny transformation. He doesn't simply imitate Charles's voice and mannerisms, he captures his rhythm, his confidence and his vulnerability. Critical reception was overwhelmingly positive, with near universal praise directed at Fox's performance. He won the BAFTA, Golden Globe, and Academy Award for Best Actor, cementing the role as one of the most iconic portrayals in biopic history. The film itself received 6 Academy Award nominations in total, also winning for Best Sound Mixing. It holds a 7.7 on IMDb and a 3.8 on Letterboxd. Commercially, the film was a major success as well, grossing over $123 million worldwide. Today, Ray is widely regarded as one of the gold standards of the genre, the kind of film that set the template many later music biopics would follow. It's remembered not just for telling Ray Charles' story, but for making you feel like you're right there inside the music with him.
You out your damn mind. You knew the rules when you got into this. Good and goddamn well I ain't gonna leave my family.
Elvis 2022. Now we arrive at one of the most visually explosive and modern music biopics ever made, and one of my personal favorites as an Elvis fan. Directed by Baz Luhrmann and starring Austin Butler and Tom Hanks. The film tells the story of the legendary Elvis Presley, charting his rise from a poor childhood into Mississippi to becoming the king of rock and roll. But rather than a straightforward biography, the story is framed through the perspective of his controversial manager Colonel Tom Parker. Over the course of more than 2 decades, we see Elvis's meteoric fame, his cultural impact and the gradual loss of control over his own life as fame, exploitation and identity begin to collide. What makes Elvis stand out within the genre is its style. Where most biopics aim for grounded realism, this film leans fully into spectacle, rapid editing, bold visuals and modern musical blending that makes Elvis feel immediate rather than distant. Luhrmann treats Elvis less as a historical figure and more as a cultural force, turning performances into kinetic, almost overwhelming experiences. Critical reception was generally strong, with particular praise directed at Austin Butler's performance, which many critics saw as transformative, while Hanks' performance was often ridiculed. The film earned 8 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture, while Butler received recognition for his role with a SAG, Critics' Choice and Academy Award nomination, as well as a BAFTA and Golden Globe win for Best Actor. It holds a 7.3 on IMDb and a 3.4 on Letterboxd. Commercially, the film was a major success, grossing around $288 million worldwide. Today, Elvis is already seen as one of the defining music biopics of the 2020s, a film that embraces excess, style and emotion to capture not just the life of Elvis Presley, but the overwhelming phenomenon he became. It's the kind of biopic that doesn't just show you the legend, it makes you feel the noise, the pressure and the myth all at once.
I want to try something new.
Control 2007. Now, we turn to one of the most intimate and haunting music biopics ever made, a film that strips away the spectacle of fame and replaces it with something far more fragile. Directed by Anton Corbijn and starring Samantha Morton, Sam Riley and Alexandra Maria Lara. The film follows Ian Curtis, the lead singer of Joy Division, an English rock band from the late 1970s, charting his rapid rise to fame alongside his struggles with epilepsy, his turbulent marriage, and his increasingly overwhelming inner life. As the band begins to break through internationally, Curtis finds himself caught between expectation, identity, and a growing sense of isolation that he cannot escape. What makes Control stand out within the genre is its restraint. Shot in stark black and white, the film feels less like a traditional biography and more like a memory. It avoids the usual highs of fame and instead focuses on the quiet, often painful moments in between. The music is present, but it never overwhelms the emotional core. Instead, it reflects Curtis's internal state, making the film feel less like a celebration and more like an elegy. Critical reception was extremely strong, particularly among critics who praised its authenticity and emotional honesty. Sam Riley's performance was widely acclaimed for capturing Curtis's vulnerability without turning him into myth, with many considering it one of the most artistically pure music biopics ever made. It holds a 7.6 on IMDb and a 3.9 on Letterboxd. Commercially, it was modest, performing more as an independent art house success, grossing around $8 million worldwide. Today, Control is regarded as one of the most authentic and emotionally resonant music biopics ever made, a film that doesn't just tell Ian Curtis' story but captures the feeling of being trapped inside it. It's the kind of biopic that lingers long after it ends, quiet, heavy and impossible to shake off.
What once was innocence turned on its side.
Straight Outta Compton 2015. Now we move into one of the most explosive and culturally significant music biopics ever made, a film that doesn't just tell a story but captures a movement. Directed by F. Gary Gray and starring O'Shea Jackson Jr., Corey Hawkins, Jason Mitchell, Aldous Hodge, Neil Brown Jr., and Paul Giamatti. The film tells the story of NWA, including Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, MC Ren, and DJ Jella, following their rise from the streets of Compton to becoming one of the most influential and controversial groups in music history. It charts their formation, their breakthrough with Straight Outta Compton, and the tensions, both internal and external, that ultimately led to their breakup. Along the way, the film explores their confrontations with police, media backlash, and the realities of systemic racism in late 1980s America. What makes Straight Outta Compton stand out within the genre is its urgency. Where many biopics look back on history with distance, this film feels immediate and alive. It doesn't just present the music, it shows why it mattered. The performances are raw, the energy is relentless, and the social context is front and center, making the film as much about protest and identity as it's about fame. Critical reception was highly positive, with praise directed at its performances, direction, and cultural impact, with many critics highlighting its ability to balance entertainment with political commentary. The film receives an Academy Award nomination for Best Original Screenplay, as well as nominations for Acting Ensemble at the Critics' Choice Award and SAG Awards. It holds a 7.8 on IMDb and a 3.8 on Letterboxd. Commercially, it was a massive success and firmly exceeded expectations, grossing over $200 million worldwide. Today, Straight Outta Compton is widely regarded as one of the most important modern music biopics, a film that doesn't just document the rise of NWA but captures the cultural moment that made them essential. It's a biopic that feels less like a retrospective and more like a statement, loud, confrontational, and impossible to ignore.
Man, shut up and get comfortable. Let's go.
Walk the Line, 2005. Now, we get to one of the most emotionally grounded and widely beloved music biopics ever made, a film that understands that sometimes the most powerful story behind the music is a love story. Directed by James Mangold and starring Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon. The film follows the life of Johnny Cash, from his early years growing up on a cotton farm to his rise as one of country music's most iconic figures. Along the way, it explores his struggles with addiction, his complicated relationship with fame, and most importantly, his enduring connection with June Carter. Their relationship becomes the emotional backbone of the story, shaping both his personal life and his music. What makes Walk the Line stand out within the genre is its focus. Rather than trying to cover every moment of Cash's life, it zeroes in on the relationship between Johnny and June, turning the film into something far more intimate than a standard biography. The performances elevate this even further. Both Phoenix and Witherspoon perform their own singing, adding a raw authenticity that makes the music feel immediate and personal rather than staged. Critical reception was highly positive, with particular praise directed at the performances. The film received 5 Academy Award nominations, winning 1, Best Actress for Witherspoon, who also won the BAFTA, Critics' Choice Award, SAG Award, and Golden Globe. While Phoenix received a SAG Award, Critics' Choice Award, BAFTA, and Academy Award nomination, as well as a Golden Globe win for Best Actor. It holds a 7.8 on IMDb and a 3.8 on Letterboxd. Commercially, the film was a major success, grossing over $186 million worldwide. Today, Walk the Line is widely regarded as one of the best music biopics ever made, a film that doesn't just chart the rise of a legend but captures the humanity behind him. It's remembered not just for Johnny Cash's music, but for the love story that helped define it.
You're my best friend. Marry me.
Funny Girl, 1968. Now we step back to one of the most iconic and glamorous music biopics ever made, and by far the oldest on this list. Directed by the legendary William Wyler and starring Barbra Streisand, Omar Sharif, Kay Medford, Anne Francis, and Walter Pidgeon. The film tells the story of Fanny Brice, charting her rise from an overlooked stage performer to one of the biggest stars on Broadway during the early 1900s. Along the way, it explores her insecurities, her determination to succeed on her own terms, and her complicated romance with gambler Nick Arnstein. A relationship that ultimately tests the balance between personal happiness and professional success. What makes Funny Girl stand out within the genre is its embrace of performance. Where many biopics aim for realism, this film leans fully into theatricality, grand musical numbers, heightened emotion, and a larger-than-life central performance. But beneath that spectacle is something more grounded, a story about self-worth, identity, and the cost of chasing success. Critical reception was extremely strong, with widespread praise for Streisand's performance, which earned her a BAFTA nomination as well as the Golden Globe and Academy Award for Best Actor. The film itself was also nominated for 7 more Academy Awards, including Best Picture. It holds a 7.4 on IMDb and a 4 on Letterboxd. Commercially, it was a major success, becoming the highest-grossing film of the year and solidifying Streisand as a global star. Its soundtrack also became hugely popular, further cementing its cultural impact. Today, Funny Girl is regarded as one of the defining music biopics of classic Hollywood, a film that doesn't just tell the story of Fanny Brice, but celebrates the power of individuality in an industry that often demands conformity.
Hello, gorgeous.
Kneecap 2024. Now, we move on to one of the newest entries on this list and one of the most energetic and unconventional music biopics in recent memory. Directed by Rich Papiet and starring Nishan Okaralan, Liam Ogeohani and JJ Odokarty, the members of Kneecap as themselves. The film follows the rise of the Belfast-based rap trio, beginning with two rebellious young men and a disillusioned music teacher who come together to form a group that raps in the Irish language. What starts as a chaotic underground project quickly turns into something much bigger, a movement tied to identity, politics and the preservation of a fading language. As their popularity grows, they find themselves facing pressure from authorities, cultural institutions and even their own self-destructive tendencies. What makes Kneecap stand out within the genre is its authenticity and raw energy. Unlike most biopics that rely on actors and polished storytelling, this film blurs the line between fact and fiction by having the real artists play themselves. The result is something messy, chaotic and completely alive. Stylistically, it's fast, irreverent and often surreal, filled with fourth wall breaks, wild humor and a rebellious tone that mirrors the music itself. Critical reception has been strongly positive, with many praising its originality, humor and political edge. The film swept the British Independent Film Awards, receiving 14 nominations and winning 7, including Best British Independent Film and Best Joint Lead Performance for the Kneecap trio. It holds a 7.6 on IMDb and a massive 4.1 on Letterboxd. Commercially, it's been a modest success, earning just under $5 million worldwide, but its impact goes far beyond box office numbers. Kneecap is already being seen as one of the most refreshing and rebellious music biopics of the modern era. It's a kind of biopic that feels immediate, loud and unapologetically alive, proving that sometimes the most powerful music stories aren't about fame, but about having something to say and refusing to be ignored.
Well, you're not gonna resist an arrest.
Green Book 2018. Now we get to one of the more unconventional entries in the genre, a film that isn't strictly about the rise of a musician but uses music as the lens through which a larger story is told, but should clearly be on the list based on the fact that it is a story based on a real-life musician. Directed by Peter Farrelly and starring Mahershala Ali and Viggo Mortensen. The film follows Don Shirley, a highly refined and world-class black pianist, as he embarks on a concert tour through the segregated American South in the 1960s. Accompanying him is Tony Lip Vallelonga, a tough working-class Italian-American hired as his driver and bodyguard. As they travel together, their relationship evolves from mutual skepticism into an unlikely friendship, shaped by the realities of racism, class differences and shared humanity. What makes Green Book stand out within the genre is its perspective. Rather than focusing solely on Don Shirley's career or artistry, the film frames his story through a road trip structure, using music as a backdrop to explore social and cultural divides. It's less about the creation of music and more about the environment in which that music exists, how it's received, restricted and sometimes misunderstood. This approach makes it feel as much like a character-driven drama as it does a biopic. Critical reception was strong, though somewhat divided. Many critics praised the performances as well as the film's humor and emotional warmth. Others debated its handling of historical and racial complexities, while general audiences were very much warm to the story. Mahershala Ali won the BAFTA, SAG Award, Golden Globe, Critics' Choice Award and Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. While the film itself received 5 Academy Award nominations, also winning Best Original Screenplay and a big one, Best Picture. It holds an 8.2 on IMDb and a 3.9 on Letterboxd. Commercially, the film was a major success, grossing over $320 million worldwide. Today, Green Book remains one of the most talked about modern biographical films, both celebrated and debated. It's remembered not just as a story about Don Shirley, but as a film that uses music to explore connection across deep divides. It may not fit neatly into the traditional music biopic mold, but that's exactly what makes it stand out.
I'm Dr. Donald Shirley.
Tony.
Amadeus, 1984. Now we arrive at one of the most acclaimed and influential music biopics ever made, a film that transforms classical music into something dramatic, intense and deeply human. Directed by Milos Forman and starring F. Murray Abraham and Tom Hulce, the film tells the story of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart but through the eyes of his rival Antonio Salieri. Framed as a confession, Salieri recounts his obsession with Mozart, a man he sees as both a divine genius and an infuriatingly childish individual. As Mozart's talents continue to dazzle the world, Salieri becomes consumed by jealousy, convinced that God has chosen to speak through someone he believes is undeserving. What makes Amadeus stand out within the genre is its perspective. Instead of presenting a straightforward life story, it turns Mozart into a myth viewed through envy and insecurity. The film isn't just about music, it's about the nature of genius itself. By focusing on Salieri's jealousy, it creates a psychological drama that elevates the story beyond biography into something almost operatic. Critical reception was extraordinary. The film was universally praised for its performances, direction and screenplay, winning 8 Academy Awards including Picture, Director for Forman, Adapted Screenplay, Art Direction, Costume Design, Makeup, Sound and Best Actor for Abraham, who also won the Golden Globe. It is frequently ranked among the greatest films ever made. It holds an 8.4 on IMDb and a 4.4 on Letterboxd. Commercially, it also was a major success, especially for a period drama, grossing over $51 million domestically. Today, Amadeus is widely regarded as the gold standard of the music biopic genre, a film that doesn't just tell the story of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, but explores what it means to witness genius and not possess it. It's a film that turns music into drama, rivalry into tragedy, and history into something timeless.
It is miraculous.
The Pianist, 2002. Now, we end with one of the most powerful and haunting music biopics ever made, as well as my personal favorite, a film that strips away the glamour of artistry and reveals what remains when everything else is taken away. Directed by Roman Polanski and starring Adrian Brody, the film tells the story of Władysław Szpilman, a Jewish pianist living in Warsaw during World War II. As the Nazi occupation intensifies, Szpilman is gradually separated from his family and forced into hiding, struggling to survive in a city that is being systematically destroyed. Throughout his descent into unimaginable hardship, music becomes a distant echo of his former life, something fragile, almost lost, yet still deeply tied to his identity. What makes The Pianist stand out within the genre is its restraint. Unlike most films in the category, it doesn't center on fame, performance, or success. Instead, it places music in the background, using silence just as powerfully. When music does appear, it feels almost sacred, a reminder of humanity in a world that has abandoned it. The film transforms the idea of a music biopic into something far more profound, a story about survival, memory, and the quiet endurance of the human spirit. Critical reception was overwhelmingly positive. The film won 3 Academy Awards, including Best Director for Polanski, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Actor for Brody, making him the youngest winner in the category's history. His performance was widely praised for its physical and emotional intensity, while the film itself is frequently cited as one of the greatest films of the 21st century. It holds a massive 8.5 on IMDb and a 4.4 on Letterboxd. Commercially, it also was a strong success, grossing over $120 million worldwide and reaching a wide international audience despite its heavy subject matter. Today, The Pianist is regarded as one of the most important and emotionally devastating films ever made, not just within the music biopic genre, but in cinema as a whole. And due to its place on this list, I also see it as the best music biopic of all time. It's a film that doesn't just tell the story of a man, a pianist, but reminds us what art means when everything else is gone. Not entertainment, but survival, identity, and a final connection to humanity.
Ich war Pianist.
And there you have it, the best music biopics of all time. From the more traditional career explorations to the more unconventional spins on the genre. Now let me ask you, are you excited for the newest addition to the genre, Michael? And what is your favorite music biopic? Let me know in the comments below and be sure to subscribe for more videos like these. I have been Dean, the average movie guy on your screen. Big thanks for watching. See you next time. Roll the credits.